No mechanism exists to make payments over a communications channel without a trusted party. What is needed is an electronic payment system based on cryptographic proof instead of trust, allowing any two willing parties to transact directly with each other without the need for a trusted third party.
All right, everybody, welcome to World Blockchain Roundtable. This is episode 149. It is a combination episode. Blockchain's used for political polling and other surveys, and know your customer, anti-money laundering business stuff. So that's what the show is today. Our guests are Sean, everyone's best friend, Lisa from the Mighty Lair, Greg from Rivet. John is still lost in the tunnels of New York, and we have another hopefully a recurring regular panelist as well. I am joining us today from the South, and we'll get through today. Hopefully, we have a couple of things to go over real quick. And I will show you here. Let's see. April themes. Okay. So the April themes have been decided. So thank you for your vote. Hopefully you made a good vote. Join us for week 1 of April is Blockchain App Store to challenge App Store monopolies. That I'm actually interested in a couple of hearing what you guys think about a couple of those things and how the world could be improved there. The next week is going to be, can blockchain create a new internet? Third week is, how do we get grandma to start using blockchain? And fourth week is subverting corrupt governments with blockchains, which
I have a special guest for one of those for grandma.
This is some really great topics.
I was going to say, we should have my mom come on for do we have grandma start using blockchain?
That would be good.
That would be super.
Yes.
Because she introduced me to cryptocurrency.
Really?
Yes.
Dude, yeah.
That's why I'm
awesome.
Litecoin Lisa's, because
Excuse me.
my husband and I Litecoin when we got married in 2017.
How did she come across? Maybe we should have her on. I mean, how did she come across that? That's awesome.
Yeah, she
She's
was
a special woman.
She's a legend.
She was awake before any of us were. Before it was like she was way ahead of her time. She's way ahead of her time lady.
I'll invite Nana on.
That is awesome. Yeah, absolutely. That would be amazing. That would be super cool. That is week 3. Week 3. So we have time to get it right.
I'd like to thank everybody who voted for my proposals for April.
Which ones were they?
All of them.
All 4? No way. Really?
Oh my god, dude, that's awesome.
Dude. I was going to, and I should have introduced you as probably the most prolific community member for World Blockchain Roundtable, but maybe I didn't need to say that. So
I didn't vote for any because
I guess if people watch the show, they know you.
I still can't log in.
What?
Yeah.
Try Vivaldi. Use
not
Vivaldi
here.
browser. Sean.
Dave can fix it that I can log in. That's it. He's the only person that can fix it.
Well, we need Dave. We need Dave back, right?
I had one account that was an old account that was messed up, so I created a second account. And
we should start a community fund to make Dave independently wealthy so he can come back.
Yes, that's what we need. That's what we need, actually. Yep. That'd be a good point. Okay, so real quick update. Layer ownership tokens from last week. Every host will receive 555 lot. We created an audible last week, and there were no questions. So the topic portion was distributed to hosts. So this week we'll have it. And these ownership tokens come with free edits, perpetual asset, passive income, and governance votes, which is the most important thing, governance. And the World Blockchain Roundtable DAO. Okay, sorry, that was that. Okay, last week I failed, and I did not get the as promised. I didn't get the eggs revealed. So we were, Dracaria. We were going to reveal the eggs. The dragons are not going to be revealed until one of them hatches, right? So, and the eggs are obviously they're more static. There are only a few things that can be different on the eggs. So do you guys want to see that now? Is that all right?
Yes.
Or should I?
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
right.
you know what I love about that, real quick, what I love about this
Yes.
project is it sticks in the eye of people who say there's no special functionality built into blockchain beyond the finance field. Like it really stuffs it in the face of that notion. And you guys would not believe, like if you go read the white paper, the level of detail that went into creating things that only blockchain would allow you to create about this game.
Yes.
It actually requires it in order to have the amazing features that it has, which is.
I think it could be a revolution, because when you think about blockchain as a source of entropy, it's a totally different beast. And I found myself, we just made one crazy, and I guess it's discovery. It's an better understanding of what we're actually doing with Dracaria that made, I'm now writing a section in the blockchain section, and just starting it, but roughly it is that the real goal of Dracaria's blockchain is to pull in as much entropy from the world as possible, and ideally measurable: Bitcoin, Ethereum, other blockchains, but
other events of value to track.
Concept. Yeah, weather, earthquakes. I don't
know.
know.
Exactly. You could literally have a blockchain for every metric or every series of metrics that you wanted to combine them for. Sort of the way you can think about layer 1s and 2s, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm trying to get the idea down on paper so I can kind of get some feedback and figure out if it's the right approach. Clean it up, release it hopefully next week or something on that, because that's just another piece that I didn't want to hit the blockchain section because there's a lot there, and it is very unique, but it's an interesting thing that when you look at the white paper, the real focus is on these genes, these genomes, the dragons, and the fact that
all of the amazing aspects that those pieces bring to the table for creatives, because ultimately what these are a development platform too for people to use to integrate them into their own games and add something this rich to your sort of cross community experience to your game.
So I'm going to show
pretty fucking revolutionary.
I'm going to show the eggs, and if you remember, I'll explain this real quick up front, and then we can get to the questions. So apologies for anybody who's just annoyed with this part. But essentially, when you spawn an egg, so you come in, and I said this kind of the lore in my mind. This is kind of vague. This is not. There is no like a Bible or anything, right? This is just what I believe. Okay, that you come in and you make an offering to the celestial dragons, hoping that you get an egg, right? So you make this offering, and one of the elemental celestial dragons will accept your offer, and another one will chime in as well. I'll also sponsor this sometimes in a rare case, right? And that essentially you will then get the egg, and it'll be visually obvious to you which house your dragon is from, that the earth dragon accepted my offer, right? And you'll also be able to tell the spawn element of your dragon. Again, all of it comes from that entropy from Ethereum, from Bitcoin, that your spawn element will show as the background. And so therefore, if you have a water dragon, you'll have a water egg. But if it's underwater, you'll know, it's a water. It's the most common water dragon. But if it's in the mountains or next to a lake, you'll know it's water or air, so on and so on, right? So there's a bunch of really cool stuff there. And so these won't necessarily be in order. If I would have thought about it, I probably would have named them so that I could show them in order, but it doesn't really matter. You can see like at least all of the house and the spawn elements grouped. So anyway, so this is the air egg, for an air dragon, and its spawn element is air. So this would be the most common, and this is what you would get if you had air when you spawn the egg. Now, of course, when it hatches, the dragon will be completely unique from even its body elements, shape, all the rest of that. So anyway, this is air
That one has a great sense of scale. You
Yeah.
really get a sense of depth in that one,
Yes.
which is
The artists
pretty cool.
are pretty amazing. So
Yes.
it's like
Amazing
pretty good.
art.
This is air fire, right? So the air egg that has a fire element. So I think only a little bit more than 10% of all air eggs will have fire element. This one is air earth. So earth is the opposite of air, right? You have the difference in density, for example. So this is the most rare air egg. Right? I think it's less than 5%. Okay.
It highlights the scales of the dragon on the shell of the egg. It's so cool.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
The air eggs are my favorite so far of all the eggs that I've seen. And yet the air dragons are not my favorite of the dragons. So it's an interesting thing, right? Next, we have air water. So this is again about 10% of air eggs would have this when you spawn it. This one is earth. So the most common earth, obvious, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. This one is earth air. It's up in the mountains, right? It's like for whatever reason that earth dragon laid its egg up in the mountains, right? Earth fire, which is
It's a pretty wicked one, man.
Yes, that's a good word for it. It's very amazing looking. It's like, man, just the color in that's amazing. Earth water, which is about 10%, right? So very cool. All right, then we go to the fire eggs. As this is fire, the most common, pretty amazing. And by the way, some of the gameplay stuff we're thinking about does involve volcanoes and does involve things that on some on whatever Dracaria world is, right? Fire earth, pretty rare, 10%, like 10.4%, if I remember right. Fire air, same thing, very rare. And interesting, I think, in gameplay that you would have both elements, right? And then fire water, the most rare of the fire eggs, because this does a bold fire dragon that will approach water and lay its egg, right? Then we hit the golden eggs. So if you have, for instance, an air egg, and you can look in the white paper, this is an amazing system that essentially guarantees one of the eggs that was spawned in the season will be chosen as the golden egg, right? And so you will get this extra image in your NFT on your account, and you will also get a free a gateway pass for the next season. So you'll get a free spawn, and you would also get, if there is a sponsor for the season, you would get real world prizes or virtual. I guess it could be anything. You'll get prizes.
You get a pass to Willy Wonka Dragon.
Yep.
Yes,
and then
there you
after
go.
enough seasons too, that becomes a VIP pass to hang out with all the golden egg people.
Yes, there you go. That's a very important point. And noted, we're going to take note of that. So this is the earth egg. If you get the golden one, it looks like there's a gold leaf on it. This is the golden fire egg, right? Basic stuff. And this is the golden water egg. And without the colors, it's harder to tell them between each other. But who cares? It's golden egg. You know what you got anyway. Then we go to water. In water, it's the most common, right? Water and fire, the least common. This will be the most rare water egg. That thing is precariously poised on top of that hill there above the lava for it being a water egg. It's kind of scary. Then we have water earth, a little more common, but still like 10%. And then water air, which is again like 10% common. And that's it. That is all of them. We got through all of them.
Amazing.
Well, I mean, and the crazy thing too is like, because the seasons have an element, you can use the calendar when your egg is actually hatched.
Yes.
To understand how different your dragon might be from any other one with the same egg that you have.
Yep. And I guarantee
even the eggs, if you have one that's common, it's still going to be unique to the time it's born.
Yep. And everything we're looking at, and that's some of the reason it's been a super creative, fun project, but not an easy one, because we have to kind of project ourselves into the future and take, okay, here's what I think, here, the fact that we're tracking the house element, right? The spawn element, the spawn season element, and the hatch season element, right? And the fact that you could have a fire dragon with earth spawn element, air season, and what's the fire, whatever the other, it's like, and I think that you would have some balance of those. That what we want to do is to essentially the produce or partner to, or get people to produce things that kind of recognize, here are things that people can't control. I'm going to make this a strategic element that you want to combine teams that have different elements that could spread and defend or attack well against enemies, or maybe you go all fire. No, we're totally maximalists on fire, and you
could literally have a fire clan that is just all people with fires in the same club.
And there'll be all types of crazy cultural things that would bring. It would be amazing. So
that would make actually a pretty good mercenary team, wouldn't it?
Yes. It's just when we're reviewing this and talking to other people about the potential gameplay, it's crazy, because not only do you have those elements, you also have these genes. So you could map some magic ability to some new gene and totally change everything. It's just amazing stuff. So
yeah, it's got a creative palette for people who are going to build things that we haven't imagined.
Right. So thank you for letting me do that. Sorry I didn't get it in last week, everybody. And check out the white paper. Please do ask questions, because I do want to. We're needing to get together an FAQ. We're working on the site. We're working at various other things. It's making good progress. And I can't wait till you guys can see the dragons. They're some of the new ones.
We really ought to think about starting a separate Dracaria show.
We should. I'm game. That would be fun. And all of you guys invited. We can do all of it. We can make the second half of this show Dracaria if the DAO wanted to do it, to not have to build.
Yep, that's true.
I don't know. Whatever. It might. I don't know.
Have to have a Dracaria update.
Yeah,
Dracaria moment or something.
I haven't asked.
Current events sponsored by Dracaria.
I am asked about this, and it's applicable to the roundtable that essentially Dracaria is a DAO. We don't know legally structure, but we are treating it and governing it as a DAO. It would probably just map to whatever traditional we have to do, but we are already using DIN for the all of the governance votes and official comms, and that will be public soon. We just haven't had time to process and make sure we aren't revealing dragons and other stuff. So I'm still talking to the team about best path there, but it's a DAO, and it's participation. There'll be some behavior components. There'll be a lot of very interesting things, and it's still open if anybody wants to join and help out, because we're just trying to expand in a bunch of different areas. How we're thinking about it. So feel free to reach out. That is, either wherever, wherever you can reach out, because we're interested in bringing people in that could help us, and they can have a part of it. It's very early days still. So
and as Rivet's involved in the project, you guys can also hit me up directly about it too. And I can
right on. Well, you've helped a lot already. I mean, we have, in fact, there's a new development that I just related to the design of Dracaria's own chain. It's a Dragon chain L1, but related to it that I might want to talk to you about, because there's so many things that would be amazing. And it's not just like, I think this is the type of stuff that would interest the more traditional world, like say with startups and such, that if I didn't say that this had blockchain in it, or I wasn't who I was, we might get more attention. So we have to figure that out too, because I think this is very applicable to the non-crypto, non-Web3, non-blockchain world on just the gaming studios. My opinion, they really need this, and I'm surprised that it hasn't come up yet as a they have a couple of huge issues that this just as a byproduct solves, right? Mm-hmm. It's not even the thing we're going for, but we solve a few of the issues that we know they have. So anyway, it would be great. So should we go on to
great a blockchain comic to come out with?
Well, I mean, the other thing is, with the communities like No Man's Sky community, where the guys are developing a fantasy game next.
Yes,
it might be interesting to see if we can get people in that community interested in the idea, because it seems like a really big or great opportunity for a future crossover where you can.
That is the other thing. If anybody has any connections in that
procedural
realm.
game,
yeah, because you'd have the procedural plus the history. But sorry, Sean. I think
one of the projects I'm advising on, they have a couple artists that are from Marvel.
Are they doing? This is the webcomic.
What they had done regular comics, and I think some online stuff too. But they did stuff for our NFTs, but they're connected to it. If you
have you guys seen the ads for Light No Fire yet? Has anyone else seen that?
No, I haven't.
No.
Okay, you got to check it out. It's the same team that did No Man's Sky, but they're doing a single planet procedurally generated fantasy game. It's the size of a full planet.
You know that whole new comic company, the digital comic company that Jeff came up with from Divi, that is launched. That would be really good vehicle for this, I think.
Yeah, I have seen Light No Fire. I didn't know that was the title of it myself.
Well, given the way that those communities work, their community almost runs a pseudo DAO, like a spiritual DAO in a sense, because the community is so involved with the developers that they actually would be able to hear if people wanted something like that. So if we were to pique the interest of that community, which I bet we would.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too.
The two could make an obvious combination.
Whenever you come in from blockchain and you talk to, like, let's say, gaming world. It could be any other world, but their biggest pushback I've experienced has been, we don't want any of that crypto stuff, right?
Yeah, and I was thinking that too.
They don't want the toxic stuff, which that's obvious, but
they don't prove them wrong. Let's show them the details.
That's what I'm saying. I think the way though is to get them interested is to approach it as a behavior-based governance system. That's the most important thing. It's crypto, whatever, but behavior-based governance. Right. And then on the other side, for Dracaria, for instance, and what we are kind of thinking it's going to develop to is the ability for a traditional gaming system, AAA game or indie game, doesn't matter, to hit an API, have a reasonable cost to get crazy entropy tied together with protocols, right? So you'd be able to say, in order to generate this character, I need to first develop and register its genome. Now I can create new characters. I don't have to sell them as NFTs. I don't have to. I can do anything I'd want to do with that character. But if that character is an NPC, or if that character or item even is spawned magically versus found or manufactured, all of that would be on chain, and it would be massive. I think it would be helpful in some ways for having a better and a more measurable
fairness
score. Right, because you have the fairness, but you can also go back. I mean, even if you want to sell it to their marketing people or their product dev people, they can go back and look. It's like, well, the loud community is talking about this, but here we can see that 90% of people are doing this. And so it's a way to balance both, the further development, because all of the analytics will be there and they'll all be on chain, right? And they could even expose some of them if they wanted it. Totally, there might be a model that makes sense for them to sell more if people can see what is actually going on.
And you might even be able to see some data volunteerism too, where they can make the offer to people, because you wouldn't have to share any information that you didn't want to. Yep. If you're holding a dragon and you want to keep that entirely private, you would still be able to.
Yep. So there's a bunch of neat stuff there, and I'm like, it's really it would anybody who's wanting to take part in that. There's some amazing discussions going on. I mean, I'm talking stuff that these are more important discussions I'm having right now than I had at the beginning of Dragon Chain, that I had when I worked for the federal government. Right, this stuff's way more remarkable and creative. So anyway, just let us know. You can get a hold of us lots of different ways. So this week, theme of the week. Oh, and I need to reshare. So pardon me while I do that. Theme of the week is it's the double theme. So political polling and other surveys, and know your customer, anti-money laundering. Oh, that's by Dayrox. I am for I am did not hit on all cylinders this week.
No, I did not. I thought the survey was mine. I thought the political survey was mine, but
yes, it is. Yes, yeah.
But Dayrox got the other half.
It's pretty
cool.
Go
Dayrox.
Dayrox is awesome. Dayrox, like always,
He's
always participating.
Good things to say on Din Social.
Yep. Okay,
Amazing.
so I think I have the right tab here. Okay, so I have to refresh this. Right, I'm going to refresh this. You guys can make any comments before we go. And we'll see what the first question is. It is Dayrox. Woohoo! I'm rooting for Dayrox this show, right? I hope it's a good question. More and more projects require KYC. Blockchains such as XRP have no problem with this. Is this something we will have to accept? What do you think about decentralized KYC? Would it be a solution? Here are short info about project working on centralized KYC. XDeFi, I hope that's the way to pronounce it, is an innovative decentralized futures platform built on Flare networks to world's first 100% regulatory compliant decentralized futures protocol with KYC tokenization, meaning no central entity is involved. Okay, so what do you guys think about that?
Well, I think we have to look seriously at the value of KYC for anti-money laundering purposes, right? Like if you look at the root of the programs that it's based on, so history, this came from the Bank Secrecy Act. So this was the sort of prototype of this idea where banks had to collect certain information about their customers. This is a surveillance state move, right?
Yeah.
Like the way that this works out is that in this day and age, banks have a information request portal that they only give access to the authorities for, that they go in and they download reams and reams of data, and they do this in mass. This is now done via mass surveillance.
Yeah.
They're about to lower the threshold for transactions to $60 for reporting. What this means is they're increasing their capacity to ingest data. Pretty soon it will be trivial for them to go down to the cent level. And the thing that really drives me nuts about this isn't that it's surveillance. It's purposeless surveillance, because they stop about the stats say 0.1% or less of illicit financial flows, and the cost to each institution that implements them is about $2 to $8 billion a year, or for the banks that have to implement it. For the other companies that have to implement it now, the costs are obviously lower. There's an entire profession called compliance analyst that you can become, and you can go all the way up to compliance officer or some chief appointee to some bureaucracy. But it is this is the cement that is killing our ability to rapidly innovate as a species. And I think that we really need to get it out of there. I mean, that's how I feel about KYC, is that it's counterproductive. It's expensive, and it's an invasion of privacy. And the only advantage it provides are to people who really shouldn't be doing the things that they're doing with it.
But they're the people that have power. And I don't think KYC is going anywhere as long as governments are around.
Well, it could.
Like you said,
if everything were truly decentralized, we could just thumb our noses at them.
But like I said, as long as it's not going to go away as long as governments are around. You look at the Patriot Act. How many terrorist plots has it stopped versus how many regular Americans is it arrested? So I think
it needs an advocacy movement, because it needs to go away. It's just a cost. It's not help anybody.
It helps people that are in power and want more power and authority. The surveillance state.
But
like you see, it's perfect. It is the surveillance.
The grounds
state.
on which they've justified it are provably false.
So the way out of it, if there is a way out. So on the one hand, Greg, it is possible we could just use something like that. What was it called? XD5, whatever it is. That if you could actually decentralize KYC, you could say, let's say that we get adoption, real mass market adoption, not Wall Street. If we, somebody builds something on chain that everybody wants, everybody, not, I'm not just talking about us and, crypto bros or people on Twitter. I'm talking about literally everybody says, well, holy crap, I need that. And we, that project doesn't just cave to KYC, and maybe it doesn't need to, maybe it's not even financial. Ideally, in my opinion, is it something that en masse humans could decide this is a better way to do this? Why am I giving that up to the government? And yet
I believe
still
people can be persuaded to ditch the program if they're apprised of its effectiveness and its expense.
Well, this is kind of an interesting subject, Joe, because this has been around since the beginning of, I don't know, the beginning of blockchain.
1973.
No, since like 15. There's been big projects that have made massive success doing some form of decentralized KYC. Remember Civic? It's a legitimate project that's had business success. I've actually just was like in an app or signing up for something, and they're like, "Hey, you need to do KYC," and it was through Civic, the company.
That's awesome.
They had like a real success, but you don't really hear about them that much. And it's what you always said. Like if I go to a website and they just need to know that I'm over 18, they can get that information from this decentralized. Like he's over 18. Where does he live? You don't need to know that. Well,
do we ever have a commercial transaction where someone needs to know that though, where you live, other than for shipping?
Yeah. Well, I buy lottery tickets online. They have to verify my where I live.
Do they really have to? I guess.
Yeah,
or
I can't go buy
and for school
a lottery ticket if I'm not in Louisiana.
So also,
isn't that an odd thing?
Things like that.
It's not even accurate either.
So it's the future of the game. I get it.
Yeah. I'm just saying it doesn't work for the purposes that people or
doesn't
declared would have been the declared purposes. It doesn't work for that.
But there's already been a lot of really good projects that have done this, and they're not. I mean, and people love them. I mean, it makes so much sense. Plus, it's cheaper. You have less data that's going out there. The data that is there is more secure, and only certain parts. There's like so many positives, but it's not taking.
Well, I would say right now, when a breach occurs, you name any large company in the world that hasn't had, that has had a breach of identities that were stored, right, in the millions or billions, if depending on what it is, healthcare systems, government security clearance systems. You think about it, the ones that have happened, and it's blown my mind that there has been nothing in terms of consequences. No one's ever gone to prison over this stuff, even if they worked for the government and gave up all of the secrets of here's all the top secret people that we have. So you now know where they live. And by the way, you have 10 years of all of their history since the last time they got their clearance. That was actually leaked. All that crap, right? And someone who's in that database who knows everything about me, right? I think they offered like 3 months or something for some credit protection service, right?
Right.
So it's like that's what I get out.
It was a free.
It was an advertisement for them. It's what it was. It's like here's the thing. These guys want that data. They're going to pay me. I'm going to pay you something, and you're going to leak that data so that I can advertise that here's you guys should have had my credit service, right?
Wow.
Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, no, it's ice cream cone. That's awesome.
But no stock has gone significantly down in price. It's like, they just lost billions of dollars worth of data, number one, and they lost these massive liability now, right? And it's so crazy to me. The stock has never gone down.
How long do you think it is before somebody takes a data leak like that and they dump it on chain, so that you could hypothetically have an NFT that you could come claim that would connect your accounts to?
That's what they should do. They should sell those NFTs. They'd make more money on this NFTs.
But I wonder if that risk was revealed to their shareholders during their because that's probably should have been.
There you go.
And here's the thing: did the SEC require any reporting of that was public?
Let's hope the SEC has less to do.
It should have been in.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, if you're going to regulate, at least freaking regulate. But the point is, if that were the case, those companies would be in droves to fix that. And the thing is, they're all. I think any decent technical knowledge in a lawyer's head could easily point out that in a lawsuit, if I'm going to class action against all the people whose identity you leaked, we can show that they had the option to protect it well. They had multiple things. They're collecting far more data than they should because they think that they can sell it somewhere else, right? Oh, how much did you sell it for, right? And then all of these things, and it blows my mind this hasn't happened. There has to be $1 trillion out there for all those companies that have leaked info. If I were a lawyer, I was like, God help us if I were ever a lawyer, all right? Because I'm gonna fit.
Right.
I'm not gonna live.
Trust me, you don't want to go through the trouble. It's stressful, no fun. Then you get knowledge that makes you sad.
When I've always looked at investing, in the crypto world, I always looked at it and says, "Oh, they require KYC." Next, I just passed it up. And then when you look at the AML, well, we know crypto isn't the number one, way to launder money. I mean, what is? I mean, people use cash for various reasons to avoid KYC and AML. That's where the illegal market really is certainly in the cash.
Yeah.
Another reason why they want to start, the CBDCs. But what we have to think of is KYC is not just commercial; it's also in private transactions as well. And maybe it's a bad example, but let's say that I wanted to sell my new kitten to either Sean or Lisa, but I wanted to know where they lived or their name or this kind of thing. I just wanted to know that they were cat people and not dog people or whatever. Right. You know what I mean?
There's you have like 3 items on your Airbnb that you only want people like that in your house.
Right.
And
things of that nature, something like that. So there is an element of know your customer that in a transaction in the business world or the private world that does not need to concern government or anything, but it is something that you want to sell a product to a known person, or the seller also wants to be known as, bad example, a good breeder of cats. I'm just using that one. And I thought of that because I got my wife's cup here and it says, cats are like potato chips. You just can't have one.
But the interesting point you raised there, I think, is that we do need it for some commercial stuff. But I think that we could probably use mechanisms that did not require any centralization of data, at all. Totally. It doesn't have to be an identity provider. It has to be I guess not the identity doesn't have to connect you to your real world place. We can treat the internet as a sovereign zone, should we choose to.
That's what we should be doing.
Right.
Frankly.
Now, as far as the XDFI, I really don't know anything about them.
I'd never heard of it. So that's pretty cool.
Question. One quick thing is they did have an announcement. I just saw like a press release here on Flare about that they had a partnership with Syndric Solutions. So then I look up who is Syndric Solutions. Well, they Syndric Solutions has spent a quarter of a century building the world's largest trading engines for firms like Merrill Lynch, Fidelity, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley.
I'm not impressed.
Yeah, that's it's just because agorist in me is like, I want to work against these people. So,
well, can I say something? I have this interesting, is it tinge? Something that I don't love about this subject in blockchain. I will always love to try to be creative about how this could be solved. I mean, I know that we could, for instance, apply our identity system to this and solve it in a very clean way that is very focused on the business and the customer, and letting the person hold their identity, but give them the flexibility if they have some reason they want to share it with. It doesn't matter to us, right? It's theirs. And so it's a very structural system that's very agnostic about all that stuff, but it allows you to tune things all the way down to, okay, I'll give you my state, and I'll give you my eye color, right? And if that's enough for you, then we're good. But I'm not going to give you my address or birth date or anything else, and it'd totally be up to that interchange, right?
Like when you sign up for Rivet, for example, we just take an email address and then an arbitrary username that you decide. And that's all we create, so that you can decide whether or not you want to add credit card information or whatever later,
right?
To buy that way, or if you want to pay with crypto, then you don't have to do that. But there's actually way less information than you'd think that businesses actually need.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a huge push in the 2010s by VCs to follow Facebook, gather everything. People wouldn't want to even want to talk to you about investment as an angel unless you were collecting all the data you could about this person, right? It was stupid. It was like, why? I mean, anyway, it's like they want to make money off this other economy of selling bad, doing bad things. It's just crazy. The
problem with it is really more when the state gets a hold of it, right? They use it as a thing they can weaponize against you.
Oh, totally.
If you're in a disfavored group,
and they have,
so I don't like
have access to all of it. But the thing though that I guess I was going towards is that about KYC, I'm not excited about it because it's just one of those many things that in a rare case are necessary, like an example that I gave. But most of the time, a business doesn't need that. They can just ask for a few things to make sure that the customer understands what we're buying and how it works, right? I mean, they can do things like that. But there's not a huge market. We need to solve this problem, except that the lawyers put it in place. That this law exists for, probably we all agree, I think, that it exists for reasons other than what were stated and what it's supposed to be doing. In which case, it's like, okay, make it clear first of all, so people can understand. It's like, well, why am I giving you this? It's like, I'll just go to this other group, right? And yet there's that law there, right? So we have to figure that out. But I get annoyed with anything attached to the financial networks, because almost everything about those financial networks is geared so that it's totally illegal to do X, Y, Z. But if you do Y prime, there's gold there, and they can basically go in and run this bank, this financial institution, this fund, whatever they are. They all have these little backdoor ways to get around what all of us, what am I going to say? All us cattle, either way, think of as the law and the rules. Is like, oh, they're regulated because they're not cheating me. They would be cheating us otherwise, and that's what the whole damn thing is. And we're just learning some of these things. Like, wait a minute, what?
Just remember,
especially pernicious prohibition system, if they crank it to that, right? Like they could make sure that I can't ship from the mystery shop in Florida these flavored vapes that I'm not supposed to be able to get anymore, right?
Rebelling,
that's something that they can take from me that would lower the quality of my life with the wrong system.
Right.
And we got to make sure it doesn't go there.
The other issue is really KYC is all about the half step towards the CBDCs. That's really what it is, and getting the public and we need KYC, and the government needs to know who they're banking with, so we stop those terrorists from using their bank funds.
All 0.1% of the flows that we interdict.
Yes.
And
it's in like 98.75 criminals who put money into the system get out what they need.
I'm going to tell you something. I actually believe this. So we live in a legal realm. I saw Anon once say on 4chan, it's like, it stuck with me. It's the truth. There are so many goddamn laws everywhere you look. Everybody's always breaking them, and that's the totalitarian way. That's whatever. The interesting point that I had is things like KYC could be there to give a ratchet link when, like, JP Morgan actually loses a lawsuit, because they can, we're going to fine them for the KYC. It's 25 million. It's like, but they made 4.3 billion and they cheated the other. It's like, and I think that might be one of the reasons that some of these things exist, because it's an easy thing to always pin on them and to even lead credence
pay to play.
So
they can throw a fraud thing at them very cheaply,
right?
And and start smearing them in the press like they're doing to KuCoin.
Yeah.
And then all it is literally like, oh, you let people move more than $5,000, or let people move $5,000 without KYC is the fraud that they committed.
60.
Oh wait, so they were just being liberationists against your scheme of surveillance,
right?
And now you're smearing them. We should be cheering for those guys as social revolutionaries.
Yep. The real win will happen when we, the people, stop submitting or volunteering all this information and stop and ask the question. I was at the dentist and the little girl was like, oh, I need your insurance card and your driver's license. I was like, well, I pay cash. And she's like, oh, okay, well, I need your driver's license. I was like, why? Well, I just do. And I was like, no, it's none of your business.
Yeah. Whenever I think it was a cop or
great example.
It may have been, but I remember every time I've asked, why do you need that? Why? They just stop for a second and they're like,
yeah. And then she was mad at me. And I was like, I'm not mad at you. I'm just not giving you my personal information for no reason. Like, and everyone else should be asking those same questions.
Right.
Like,
great example, Lisa. Well said. Well done.
And by the way, well done.
Thanks.
More people need to do that.
Right.
I just think that we need more of that, because we do comply so much, and that's why we went through the great infection, and it lasted so long, as people thought if they comply harder, it would get better.
I will say,
instead, we've lost more of our freedom.
That does matter too, because
thrown out of the dentist's office for refusing to put a mask on once. That was fantastic.
That's awesome. I mean, so up there in Washington State, right? And you imagine in Seattle, in Bellevue, there's some snobbery. I'll tell you, guys are all Southerners and Midwest, right? It's like, you've been there, right? There's some people that are snobs there. And going to the Hy-Vee grocery store without a mask on, and no less wearing a MAGA shirt just for fun, was crazy, because people would, it's just,
oh my god, that would be like, make sure you bring your GoPro with you for that one.
And this is at the point too where they actually had, usually
going in with a GoPro would be
they would have a regular employee as a security guard, a mask guard, right? And it was here's the Sentry, and it was, Trader Joe's was a little bit worse. I had a
Trader
guy,
Joe's was hardcore.
Manhandle
you can tell those people would like tackle you.
Because I had my mask right here. He did not like that.
We did the thing where, did you guys have the grocery stores where they had the arrows? You could only walk one way in the grocery store.
Yeah. Oh, I
went the opposite way.
That was so ridiculous.
So I just remember once.
Ridiculous.
So I was there, and everybody was
prototyping a society that they wanted to create for no good reason.
And I look across the grocery store and lock eyes with this dude that doesn't have a mask on, right? And it was funny because, like, he came over and he went through the line right next to me, and we introduced each other afterwards, because we're the only people there with no masks. Everybody else is an NPC. It was really funny. And I kid you not, he was saying shit, just trolling the world while he was in line the whole time, and I was over there cracking up. And on the way out, like, I'm talking to him, and he said, oh, he just moved there from California, right? And so we're talking, and this dude drives up in a minivan, and I guess I should say, I mean, the guy I'm talking to without a mask was black.
Did he lean out the window?
He leaned out the window, and he's like pointing to him. He's like, you think I'm a slave? And this guy that, it was just It was so hilarious. He's like, "Yeah, you are a slave."
Yes,
and he
you
kept
are.
going on and on. It was crazy. So anyway, we've seen that seeing other people do that, think, it's like, I'm not crazy for not wanting to do this thing that I'm supposed to do now. Thank you, George Orwell. Anyway, it's funny stuff.
It's called an availability cascade. Is the technical term for it. When enough people realize that everybody else thinks this is stupid too, people all switch rapidly.
So here's a question to make this fun, and this is maybe an audible vote. If we want to continue on, we can make it permanent. But this is I Am for IAM's question, and he's here to answer it. We've had this happen a couple of other times, like maybe Dave, maybe I know one of you guys has done this before. Sean doesn't because he never logs in, right? Sorry.
I try.
No, but do you guys want to make it so that I Am for IAM, or if you have a better idea, my thought is he can't answer verbally. He can only give facial reactions to our answers.
No, I got a lot to say about this one.
Okay, well.
No, it's okay. I mean, I'll try. Okay. I'll try, okay. But I got a lot of these. And
I know. I was just joking. Okay, right on. Right, and that's the great thing being on the show. You can actually answer your own question and pretend like it's somebody else's question, right? That might be it.
What do you guys think the odds are that Biden on his way out pardons SBF?
SBF just got 25 years.
Sentencing was today, so I was
25 years. He only got 25 years. What did Madoff get?
50, and he was asking for 5. So 25's not terrible.
He'll probably still be out in 5.
He's going to be in a soft prison where they play tennis and all that kind of thing.
Like he's only for beanbags, dude. He's not playing tennis.
Where the Wolf of Wall Street went, serve time.
That's probably true.
Okay,
he'll be popular in prison. People like fraud.
Let's see here.
In prison. Criminals like fraud.
Do we have any rules? Can maybe
it's up to you guys. I'm okay.
I say a lighter rule could be that you have to answer first. I'm just joking. It doesn't matter. Okay. All right. If you combine surveys with registered voters using blockchain KYC, it would reflect a more accurate outcome or view of the public. And could this be accomplished, right? How could this be accomplished? So combining surveys with registered voters using KYC, right?
At that point, why not just make them votes?
Make it much more accurate.
Votes on policy issues, man.
Wait, what do you mean? Votes?
Why would you at that point need representatives for anything? Really,
right?
This is how you could get for the umbrella promise, for example. Like there's a measure before the Senate. You create one of these bad boys, and your electorate decides how you go. Right?
Yeah, that's the way to do it. And
it makes total sense.
I would want the ability to delegate. Like if I'm not, if I don't understand enough about a topic. But I trust, I trust Greg. So I'm just going to delegate all of my voting to you, right? Or I trust Greg to choose when to trust somebody else even. Doesn't matter. I'm going to
anytime it's this topic, I've delegated to this person.
Yep.
As long as it's per individual and not the electoral college model that is the shit show of America.
Yep.
That can be manipulated.
I think blockchain, we always say, just gives more transparency.
Yep.
And if you just give more transparency to anything, that's really screwed up. Like if there's a poll and they had to have the question of the poll exactly as it was given, and then the results, that would fix so much already.
That would.
Just that little bit of transparency, and then people are like, oh, if you ask that, of course, you're going to have an outcome that looks like this.
You know what else? Because even within English, things, even as you described, a question can be very obviously directing people. It's known, psychological, simple stuff. If you make something sound bad, you can get the poll to go one way, even though
if you've ever been polled, it's not just a question. The NRA calls you. They're like, "Hey, this sucks and this sucks. Doesn't that suck? I'm sure you agree this sucks. Here's the question: Does this suck?"
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So even
they have by the way, there are two other pieces there that sins of omission, I guess you would call it, that I remember during the Bush years and stuff, that they would call me like twice a month for a poll. And I was like, usually when I'm driving home. So I'm just sure I'll answer your poll, right? It's interesting sometimes to hear what events they're going to be engineering in the coming months. One way or another, I realized that right before the election, they stopped calling me because they didn't want me counted in their set, right? It was hilarious. So you would have evidence of that for one thing, right? Your poll is BS or whatever. So selection would be an amazing angle that you could measure it. You could have AI to help with evaluating whether a question is a trick, and then I think in the end, if you're going to do anything with newspeak, like with development of new language, frankly, we should generate a hybrid legalese and smart contractese, technical. So technical, legal. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? If we had that available to us, we could express and translate between the actual smart contract detail and the human understanding of the functionality.
We need techno jurisprudence as well as a techno politics.
Yes. And I'm not even talking about for something built on one of these chains. I'm thinking, no, if we had that, laws would be fairer. It would be easier to understand what rules are, right? And it just would tighten the gap on, a jury could vote this way, or a judge could vote that way, and the judge is going to matter if you're support the wrong political candidate and it's public. That's going to matter all of a sudden, and there's no way to measure that, and that's not fair, right?
So
justice is not blind.
In the thing, like the distraction of them making people think that Roe versus Wade was about abortion, they would understand. It would be more clear that it was about returning the rights to the states to decide.
Right. Because there wouldn't be English. English is an extremely flexible language. That there are a million ways to say the same thing. And when you have something like legalese, or even whatever they call it in the medical world, that they refine their languages so that they can be useful and for clarity and everything else in their work. And yet some of it's still English, so it's still not tight enough for what we know, which is this is you input this into the smart contract, and it's on chain, and everybody knows the result, right?
The way that courts have done that is with public or published opinion, right? So what you would probably want to do is implement a system that created published opinions on events that were part of the outcome of that, so that you could start to get a sense of, given the panel, which words have certain specific meanings, and you can sort of develop a stare decisis of meaning.
Yeah. I mean, if we had unlimited budget, like if we owned the Fed or something like that, I would say put a few $1 million into this, because we need that. And you imagine if it came not just after an event, if it was, I have actual write-ups from these very respected scholars that this method could lead to this issue. We should improve it this way, right? Before anything happens, let alone it might point to, or it might come from an event that happened on a prior, but you would have the opportunity to, potentially catch stuff before people make the mistakes, because, you have one group putting that out, and
and moreover, we can unmake mistakes a lot easier.
Yes. Okay. I think we need to
I am trying to say something.
I am. Yeah, so.
What was my question? No, I had 3 points. No, you're good. I had 3 points to make with this. First, the idea of registered voters and what do the registered voters think is supposed to scare the elected representative or politician to say, oh, I better vote how they want to vote. But we know that doesn't happen, because they're owned and manipulated, and they vote per party or vote per special interest in how the lobby.
Right. It's an address database.
So the idea of a registered voter is supposed to be scary to the elected officials who's supposed to work for us is kind of a misnomer. It really means nothing, right? Then the next point is the KYC item of it is that kind of dovetails or kind of leads into the point of, should we show ID or not ID for when we vote? And the next point with the blockchain added into there is the KYC in the blockchain is this registered voter really, let's just say I'm registered as a Republican, but I tell them that I'm in the survey that I'm actually a Democrat. And so then I want to skew the poll or skew the survey, right? And that is how that would, apply is supposed to, so that the parties, issue. But the other real big point, and the third point I was going to make was that it's really issues. How are issues prioritized by the people? And if we had true representation, which I would argue we don't, if that's really where the KYC would come down to, I guess, is these are real registered voters who are going to vote, and our votes matter. Our votes are counted properly. We can see our vote. We can track our vote through blockchain, all of that, yada, yada, yada. So we know that the vote is really counted and applied correctly.
Yep.
Then the registered voter in a poll would actually mean something. And then the next point is, then those registered voters might prioritize. No, I'm prioritizing Ukraine, or I'm prioritizing the border. I'm prioritizing healthcare or education. And those things would be ranked amongst registered voters. And that's kind of the point. And I'm going to plug one more thing. Scott Rasmussen, from Rasmussen Polling or whatever, he posted the first poll on the internet, and you've probably heard of them. He's going to have a show April 7th. I didn't even know, but who's that psychiatrist that was on Oprah or whatever? He's a Texan, Texas guy. I can't remember.
Dr. Phil?
Dr. Phil?
Dr. Phil. He's got his own TV network, and Scott Rasmussen or whatever is going to have a show on his network.
Interesting.
So just side note there. But that's what I had to say about my question.
So, how do you address people who are conscientious objectors to voting?
Like myself, ironically, right?
Right.
And I'm a conscious objector for voting for the sole reason is, 1, I cannot see my vote. 2, I cannot track my vote. And 3, I don't know if my vote was applied correctly. So therefore, those are all good reasons. Here, it must be rigged because I cannot track my vote.
Mine is a matter of assent to the people who are sending my money to drop cluster bombs on kids. So
that's why we should all not pay taxes.
I don't want to support that system by signing the mini social contract that voting implies.
Right.
I don't assent to the rule of this group because I consider them evil.
Exactly.
Right on.
Exactly.
I do agree. Interesting. So, did everybody get an answer in there?
I believe so.
I think so. All right. Okay. I am. Surprise. No, sorry. This is great. So thank you for all the questions. Let's see here.
Yeah, man.
We have time. We have plenty of time. Surveys predict outcomes and can sway an audience to change their behavior or alter votes. So it can be a push poll or whatever. So the intention of the survey is extremely important. Having said that, how can surveys on a blockchain be more honest and help people understand public sentiment? I know the answer to this, but I'll let you guys answer first.
I think you should use AI. I think a clever way to do it is to have a DAO created model that is a consensus believed to be neutral, that you can run all of your poll generations through. And if the poll was generated through that, you should be able to get an NFT certificate saying that it was generated by that. And that NFT certificate should be visible and accessible from any poll placement on the web. So that you can click and see that, in fact, they use this model to generate it. So it's provably neutral.
Yep.
At least as far as everybody who participates in the provable neutrality DAO that would be open to everyone, agrees that it is.
Yeah.
Good.
I think it's like I said, this is one of those examples where I don't think you need crypto. I don't think you need blockchain. You just need forced transparency. And that is what blockchain brings. So if you had that forced transparency where, these surveys would have to put out that information, then people would have real, accurate information, so they wouldn't be swayed or manipulated, not, in the end, to not voting or to whip people up in a frenzy so they would vote. I mean, it's just transparency. It's basically, it's a surveys of blockchains can be more honest. It's the answer right there. Mm-hmm. Blockchain just forces that, whereas you could just have that as a requirement of any kind of poll.
I think you guys have all said it well. Yeah.
Great answer, Sean. Absolutely.
So I think I agree with both of you on that, but there's one more thing that I think, and I'll just, maybe it's best or simplest to describe what I would think of as a near perfect system for this, which would be that the poll, or whatever the question is, would be put on chain, and so you have history there, and you have history there because then an AI with, by the way, all of its training data on chain, so anybody could look at it, the AI would suggest or maybe score it and say, this seems to use language that is 10% of the time used in some fraudulent way, right? Or to confuse the meaning of the question or answer, right? So that type of a score could be applied. Then you could have something like, this is, again, perfect, you don't need all of this, something like DIN, where you would have a content and a prediction algorithm, so that it would quickly decide whether this poll is legit or not, and whether the AI made a mistake, anything else like that. It's like, well, this is obviously, something's wrong with the AI.
Right. You can you can have an adversarial layer on top of the base layer to, and you could use something like they use right now to bias the AI. You could actually use that to correct it if you applied it at a group level like that.
And putting it all on chain, in my opinion, is forced transparency is BS, because theoretically, it sounds like most bureaucrats in the government think that the FOIA is not, should not be used. That they're going to lie and say that they don't have anything to show you, and that's happening all over the place. You can't actually get a real FOIA unless somebody slips up, and that's why you don't see them very often. But I think you have to put it on chain, number one, so that the votes can be tallied well, and people can know even that the poll they're participating in, which could be a vote even or whatever, is legitimate. That it wasn't a trick question. Everybody agrees. And I voted this way. I can track that I was actually counted in the way that I expect. All those things. It could be anonymous or not. You can do all those things. And then the other side of it is, for history, the fact that we know this, and let's say it was an actual vote versus a poll opinion vote, that it's on chain. I can always go back to that. If there is any crazy stuff that we realize was not good, there's the history. You can go back and it's like, oh, it's obviously they're using these in some new technique that we, like, as of right now, have not discovered is out there for psychological manipulation.
Well, actually, I know the technique
doesn't exist. So, but anyway, I'm like, if it's on chain, then we as citizens have historical record from which consequences can be directed. That is, if somebody actually did do something really bad, we can actually figure out, oh, they really did do it, and we can know that, and they also, we would know the history there, and it'll make elected representatives and hopefully like bureaucrats much more honest. They're not going to take that pay under the table, because it's going to show up on chain, and they know 7 years in the future they're going to get yanked, right? So
Well, an analysis that goes back 100 years could pick it up. You could go into archival research with an appropriate blockchain and prove exactly.
Yeah.
Polls and surveys are all about a narrative, to push a narrative usually. Well, not usually, a lot of times.
Wait, you're telling me
no, they're always narrative based.
And when you don't see, and we don't see that plus or minus 3% or plus or minus 8%, 12%. I remember way back in the day in college, my stats professor said, hey, if you don't see the plus or minus, just throw it away, disregard it. And that's
it's meant to be communicated to third parties is what it is.
Right.
They craft the things so that you see a question and you see the results of the poll.
Right.
And
they see the answer,
and you give a new piece of information to your opinion on the matter, right?
Yeah.
So if you frame the questions the right way and you know how the answers are going to be, you can make it look like some people, or that all people who voted on this overwhelmingly support, and it has been inferred because of that you do. You're far more likely to go along with that idea, right? If that kind of pressure's on you. It's to say it's a way of saying that everybody else agrees.
Agreed. Yeah. And that's what it's just important to be, conscious of that a lot of these polls are used for a narrative, to push a narrative, the left or the right, which I don't like to even use the term left or right. I like to use centralized or decentralized. And that's really what we have to think about when we look at these polls. And a lot of us don't even look at them because we know that most of them are garbage anyway. Right.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you had the money, you could push out any question.
It does give you a sentiment of what the public is thinking, and some of us want to be part of that herd or that crowd, and others are, if we hear this way, well I'm going to go the other way, just because we're contrary. So I don't know how blockchain can alter or fix how the question is worded, but like Sean said, it is true that blockchain should be inserted and used for that transparency of who took the survey and were they legitimate answers by the.
If it were a free system where it was mined, I would base the rewards on that, on this. And if it were a paid system where somebody's paying the network with tokens to run a poll, I would base their cost for every answer given by the network. Would be based upon that score, and the score between the AI and the humans, because that way, if it's like a totally fair question, they're going to get the cheapest rate they can and or get the most rewards, right?
I would make them stake a penalty to ask a question. So like if you want to write a question, you've got to do the stake, and if you're later found to have been unfair,
exactly,
then your stake gets slashed, and there may or may not be a DAO vote on whether or not to allow future stakes from addresses connected to your
I love it.
virtual identity.
Yep. One last item about polls and this kind of thing and surveys. So Scott Rasmussen, I can't say his name. Anyway, he had just mentioned that. Did you know that on New Year's Eve, more people pray than those that drink? Now you have to think of it, more Americans are going to tend to might pray every day. So, but
I think it is that
some of us drink
because they're asking when we're sober. Is this poll, right? So there's like, I'm not going to drink tonight. Right. I'm going to pray. Yeah.
I'm going to pray for next year to be better than last year.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Since this is the last question, like I have friends that want to, I think it's Rasmussen, like Rasputin, but with an N.
No, it's Rasmussen.
Rasmussen. That's it.
Oh, it's like it's RASUSS. It's like spelling out Mississippi, I think.
Dude should have changed his name to Rasputin because that would have been funny.
One of the coolest things, are not cool. One of the oddest things that I've taken away from Poland,
the Rasputin poll,
is that things
they do in Russia.
It doesn't matter how bad something is. It doesn't matter if something is broken. It doesn't matter if it's exposed. It just takes a little time and things go back to the way they were. I think when Donald Trump was elected, everyone's like, these polls are shit. Absolutely, these polls lie to us. Polls don't work. Polls don't work. And then now and for a little bit, like for the next election 2 years later, They were like, "We can't really trust the polls. Can't really trust the polls. Look at what happened."
When you really shouldn't.
Nowadays, they're given with
they extrapolate broadly from a very small.
It's real simple on the polls, though, Sean. If it's a 1% vote either way, Biden or Trump, polls are plus or minus 2%, 3%, 8%.
Yeah,
so
but
they'll never be accurate.
And by the way, I said that Biden was going to pull ahead in the next few months, and none of y'all thought it was going to happen. But I said he was going to be Trump, running as Trump, and he has, and he's ahead of Trump in Michigan.
Oh, well, I think a lot of people aren't ahead of Trump anymore.
Yeah, he's ahead of Trump. 2 points ahead of Trump in Michigan.
Yeah. Well, that may be what the poll reflects, but I promise that's not.
The poll don't matter, but when the polls were all in Trump's favor, it's like, look at that. But these polls are given now
an overwhelming
with
slide,
massive authority. Like polls, this place they said it, and these are good guys. No, they all sucked. It didn't matter. Lisa posted this meme, and then a lot of people have been posting it. France banned mail-in voting in 1975 due to fraud. Mexico banned mail-in voting in 1992 due to fraud. Belgium banned mail-in voting in 2018 due to fraud. Sweden doesn't permit it. Italy doesn't permit it. Ukraine doesn't permit it. Russia doesn't permit it. Japan doesn't permit it. Not one Middle Eastern country permits it. No Latin country permits it.
Yeah, no, this is crazy to me because
you're talking about
the
American
response they always give
innovation,
you.
Sean.
Doing it. Yeah, we can do it. It doesn't matter.
The response they always give you too when you say there's fraud or there's a huge risk of fraud, they go, "There's no evidence of that." Very explicitly saying there's no evidence of that. When
those are the
next
memes,
obvious
actually.
question is, how are we gathering evidence? Oh, you mean we're not?
But when
probably why there's no evidence.
When Trump happened, that should be it. But in my opinion, there shouldn't be a Democrat Party. Once they basically what they did to Bernie Sanders, it's like, yeah, we did that. Well, then your party's no good anymore. You've got to change the name. You have to, and then when they did it again, the next election, it's like, dude, change your name, change it on paper, do whatever, but you can't still exist.
I thought you were going to say something about Seth Rich or something, Sean. I was like,
they're definitely, I think, at risk of getting Budweiser out of existence.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Wouldn't any of the parties? I mean, any of the
actually
parties.
both parties piss me off. I don't like.
Bro, I'm not even talking about any of them. Even the Libertarian Party. Even
the Capital L Libertarians
run well at all. Like, what in the world?
Libertarians.
Crazy. I don't know. I mean, and then people are talking about how votes are going to get split with RFK, his new VP. So are we are, by the way, that was the last question. We are now into current events. If you could crossed over without me announcing it. So we will current events and memes, right? So I started here with Ross, right?
Good point to bring it up.
Yes.
This man is still in
Happy
prison.
birthday, Ross.
Yeah, man. We haven't forgot you. We're not going to let you stay in there.
We need to. I don't know. I was like, this is the American equivalent of what's happening with Assange, right?
Well, I mean, and we're about to do it again to Alexei.
They just kicked that back 3 weeks.
And Roman Storm with Tornado Cash. Those guys are like, going to get railroaded into prison too.
They were talking about the on Twitter.
Of course, do it to Aaron Schwartz before somebody killed himself.
Well, they were asking him things that were impossible. I mean, it was almost certainly that it was not through lack of understanding that they were asking these questions.
They were just pissed that he made a whack-a-mole game that they couldn't win.
Yeah. Speaking of KYC, by the way, right? Yeah. So that was
that quote of Ross is so it's pure agorism, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
It's using economic efforts to dethrone the powers,
the corruption.
Well, I mean, and it actually points out a thing that's a truism about the world, right? Mm-hmm. Like we've always, you want to guarantee the creation of a black market, outlaw the sale of something that people want to buy.
That's how it works. Yeah, that's the truth. And people, I mean, even to the point in several historical novels based on, people's experiences in Eastern Europe or in the Soviet Union, that those things happened. They'd have these black markets just developed everywhere because there was no other way to get what you needed to get. because the government didn't want you to. Right.
Well, and you think about this, and you think about the idea that he's mostly there because they smeared him with the murder market, right? The idea that someone that someone could pay to assassinate through the service, when in reality, what we've seen is not a lot of people would do that if there were no power structures, right? Like assassination is a political act,
right?
And so if you make it so that power relationships are such that there's no advantage to doing it, very few people would use such a service.
So with the barge hitting the bridge in Baltimore, I was watching Laura Logan and her report and talking about the significance of that what that's going to have on the supply chain in America. And then I started thinking about, how all forms of money create slavery, and in my opinion, and I think if it does break down the supply chain, then that creates an opportunity for us to transact peer-to-peer more.
And truly free money doesn't, we just have never had it.
Right.
I have a question. I don't know if you guys know, but I've been wondering this.
Since 1913.
Is Buttigieg in charge of anything that has to do with this?
Sort of was before that.
Who is in? What'd you say? Who's in charge?
Is Buttigieg in charge of anything to do with the shipping?
Yes.
He is.
He is in charge of bridges,
Department of Transportation.
Yeah, bridges, highways, rail.
The rail was. I mean, we had these huge, terrible things that happened, and this is kind of the cherry on top of the shit sundae.
Right, a guy who, when his wife got cancer, he just got incredibly philanderous. Is running that system that we just saw create this disaster. And arguably our shipping laws are to blame in part for even the need to route like this. The supply chain wouldn't be disrupted if we weren't requiring ships to offload onto local ships.
Yeah. Yes and no. One, that bridge was built in 1970. The ship size that we have, and that wasn't even the largest ship, that is frequently used by, say, Maersk.
Right.
But that bridge had no chance against a ship even smaller than that, because back in the 70s when they built that bridge, those types of ships didn't exist.
Yeah.
And so that's one issue. That's just one small issue. There's a lot more questions that have to do with that.
Well, they were saying that you're not even allowed to drive your own ship in through there, that it's supposed to be like harbor pilots and tugboats and all of that kind of stuff.
Ask Lisa about that.
That was all missing. And then actually the CEO of the company that owned that ship is Mitch McConnell's sister-in-law or something, who was found dead about a week ago.
His daughter
driving backwards into her pond.
Yeah, the sister-in-law. Yeah. Chow is her name. She used to be Secretary of Commerce.
Yeah. Not American as well.
So
Mitch McConnell was
the Obama movie, Lisa saw it, I haven't seen it, but the Obama movie had a container ship losing control coming onto the beach. But if they also showed this, that is kind of interesting.
Which some people are saying that that ship was called White Lion, and supposedly this one was too, but I don't know about that.
Weird.
There's some weird.
Who knows? All crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Here's something new.
Well, I feel like a lot of the traffic through there is sabotage traffic, though, right? Like it's Jones Act traffic. We could have a lot of foreign ships just going straight to other ports if we didn't have.
Oh yeah, there are other ports down there. I wasn't worried about it when I heard that.
One thing that port is mostly used for is automobies. We had to go
coal, and a lot of coal goes through that port.
But I think it's like 80% of the vehicles that come into the United States go through that port. When we came from Europe and we brought our car, we had to drive down there to pick it up. I remember that as a kid. So it's forever been where most vehicles go through. I don't know. It is weird. There's so many things about it that are very odd.
Yeah. I've only seen a couple of videos, but some of them looked. It's like, really?
Yeah.
With that, but I don't know.
The lights going on and off, and ship turning,
the water's not moving.
Turning right before the end. It's like, oh, really? That's interesting. I don't know. And then I just saw this morning the what is it, the orange box? What is it, the black box is not. It was erased. They said there was nothing on it but noise and something else, and it failed multiple times when the power went out. I'm like, oh, really?
About the turning, me and Lisa watched it right after it happened. And that's what I said. I said, there's so many things that are fine, normal. You know, a lot of things. She's like, well, what about this and fire? It's like, well, there's electricity, there's that. But to me, I said, the boat turned hard and then straightened out and went straight for the support.
Yeah.
That's what I saw.
Well,
now,
when you
hold on. Now the video shows them turning away. And I know for a fact it didn't.
I have the original saved locally. I'll check that.
Yeah, check it, because now it turn straight and then goes like it turns away at the last second. And I know that wasn't there. I know that
I ran it through an Ultra HD upscaler. So I have a video that actually or the original. I have another video that is pretty solid of it from right after it happened.
Crazy.
Have you seen the news report on it with the disappearing birds?
I have not.
This is why it's important to download this stuff.
Yeah, I did see one where somebody was zooming in, and it looked like it was a telephoto zoom. It didn't look like it was a mobile zoom. Okay, but I didn't just from the shakiness. But so somebody was out there at 1:15 or 1:30 a.m. or whatever, just had their camera going on this bridge, and people say, "Oh, it's a fisherman." I'm like, I mean, it's possible, right? Maybe, I don't know. Do people go out there and fish in the middle of the night in Maryland? Yeah, I mean,
it sounds like a short story.
Yeah,
it's worth writing about that person if that's.
Did any of you see the actual path that the ship did? It did kind of an upside down J.
Yeah.
From the port where the tugs let it leave port, it went. Bad example. It went up and north, kind of, and then flipped around as a J to go through and underneath the bridge. When it dropped its anchors, when it started to turn, but there was no way to stop it. That anchor's got to catch, and it takes a while for that much weight.
Yeah, I mean, and if the ship was having power fluctuations on board, like we saw the lights go out, but we don't know what's happening to the other systems. The other systems could have been out with the lights on.
Joe, I sent
we wouldn't know.
It's a terrible thing. I sent it in the private chat. Okay. This is really bad. I saw the news footage with everything. But you can click on that YouTube video that shows the news report where the birds disappear.
Okay, I want to see that. All right, but before
they're probably touching up her face, and it took out the birds.
Little quick sidetrack here. Apparently, nutmeg is racist. If anybody has a chance, it's a new game. You just go into Google and ask is something, and you name your poison, is whatever this thing is racist, and it will come up with all the ways that thing's racist. So I want everybody to look at that, and that nutmeg was a pretty glorious one. So
that's
here,
epic.
I'm going to go over, and I'm going to hopefully. Is this queued up, or do you know what time I need to play on this, Sean?
No, it's like a couple seconds. Okay. The news report someone filmed on their TV. But it's really there's much better videos of it. But look, so this is a news report. Watch. I
hear it. You guys probably can't hear it. Oh,
what
was
that?
Wait, do it again. Can you change the speed on the YouTube to?
I'm gonna. Here's the thing. I'm gonna stop it real quick. I'm gonna come.
So the Army posted earlier this week that talking about did a whole thing on the Ghost Army of World War II and showed the blown up the inflatable tanks and trucks and all that and how that was used. And then they said it will end this week. And then this happened.
What?
Do you guys think the Mothman was involved in any way?
I saw that.
We're going to find out later.
So. Always, having lived in that area.
It's like the guy who goes around predicting bridge collapses.
I think, and my kids will agree, the Mothman has to do with everything. Any bridge collapse anyway, right? All right, he should be able to hear
it. It's like the patron saint of falling bridges.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to show you all something that happened during the whole bridge collapse on Tuesday in Baltimore. As someone recorded this moment on their TV where two birds seemed to disappear into thin air during live coverage of the collapse. You see two birds here?
That might just be where the
you
clip.
don't see them anymore.
That's
I
so
recorded
weird.
something like this on the Japan tsunami about 10 years ago or so, where there was a bird flying midair and all of a sudden just disappeared. Seems to be another situation here.
It must have self-destructed. We all know that birds aren't real.
Many other stations block the cover. All eyes are
it could be a loop splice or something. I have no idea.
Those surveillance drones had it coming.
Major U.S. port after the massive container ship Dolly.
Birds aren't real. That's the other thing. So the birds in front of at the beginning of the video are the actual issue.
Also surveillance drones, yeah.
24 election. So what are we in store for next? Let me know in the comment section below.
All right, that's interesting.
That is strange.
That's very strange. All right, this one's a pretty good meme. We are going through memes, so I apologize for the fact that I have not moved through very many very quickly today. There's some funny ones. All right. Anyway, what's the next? You want to do Kate Middleton while we're on manipulated videos?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
What do you guys think about that?
You know what blows me away is the background does not change. The flowers, the bushes do not change when she's sitting on that bench talking.
Also, people of that status don't get caught being photographed in the same clothing multiple times.
Yeah.
So
well, there's a lot of questions there.
I took an angle as like, well, I'm seeing this on 4chan. What it's like, okay, I'll just assume it's not real and then just kind of look at it because it's funny. And the first one was when they had that picture and the little kid had his fingers all weird.
Yeah, and her zipper was messed up.
And then when they started just posting, somebody's like, oh, how about this? How about this? And it's like where the sweater had an obviously photoshopped pattern that didn't line up and all that type of stuff. It's like, what? Why would they be so sloppy? But then I do remember a certain person's birth certificate that came out, and when me and my very leftist friend we're looking at that PDF, and I said, well, wait a minute, are there layers? And so we like opened up these layers, and it's like, if anybody's ever looked at that, they're like, holy crap, that's actually a thing.
Is it William or Henry that was listed on the P. Diddy lawsuit thing? Because that timing of that,
Harry, I think
Harry, yeah.
But so anyway. Then the video came out and they were saying, oh, this is obviously faked. And then they ran it through AI that could check if it was AI, which is supposedly over 90% accurate by these studies. It was saying it was fake. Then people said, watch her blinking. Try to blink like she does, right? And when you do that, you realize this is like a human does not blink like that.
Right.
Probably using like heavy appearance editing.
I saw one just yesterday, and I had a headache yesterday, and I was kind of a little bit out of it because I didn't feel good. But this video popped up, and I was just like, okay, I'll just watch it. It was, I was just trying to relax, and they had a slow-mo of her moving her hands while she's sitting there talking. And kid you not, this freaking ring.
Yes.
It disappears and then it reappears when she puts her hand back down. And I'm like, what?
And supposedly it's Princess Diane's ring.
Holy crap! Now that I didn't know. Jeez, yeah. I'm just
what are they doing? There's two things that bother me about it. One, if she's making that kind of announcement to the public, the husband should be right there in support, showing his support for her on that bench right next to her. That's a problem for me. The second one is, did you see the before, just prior to that supposed video was shot and put out, was they were together shopping, but it doesn't look like her. She was in a car, but it doesn't look like her.
That wasn't her either. Yep. I mean, there are people on 4chan who will tell you it's like, oh, he's dead.
It's a thing, dude. There's whatever when I was a kid, at least, whenever there was a question, reporters would question the question until they found an answer. That's what their job was.
Yeah.
Now they don't. It doesn't matter. I mean, do you remember when I was like, "Hey," in the Kyle trial, those guy's feet disappeared in the floor, and but whatever. That's that's weird.
Really?
Yes, Kyle Rittenauer is walking out of the courtroom
down here, and you were like, "That's weird." That's and now you don't even remember it. And it was so weird. And it's just questions pop up. You know, where did the ring go? How did that happen? Where did the birds go? It doesn't matter. It's like, shut up. Don't ask the questions. Wow. Just take this. Look at the bridge. Don't question anything.
Watching the movie. Stay on the couch, potato.
Right. For the current events, just to let everyone know, I'm taking the Truth Tuesday show more serious. And this last one I did some research on stuff, which you should go and check it out. I think it's was kind of interesting stuff with the red heifers.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
One of the which Hamas came out and said at the 100-day anniversary of the war that's one of the reasons why they invaded Israel and why they did it was because of the red heifers and what they're doing. And no one's reported on that. And then the fact that this hasn't happened for 2,000 years, there hasn't been one, and all of a sudden there's 5 from Texas. And the insanity of it, the Dead Sea Scrolls and the ashes of the previous heifers, there's so much weird stuff.
Why? What are you guys doing down there that could allow that to happen?
I don't know, man. Also, Lisa brought up she had no idea about what I was researching, what I was looking at. These cicadas, which are, a locust plague that happens every 200 years. And this is the 10th year.
This is the 10th time.
The 10th time. It's in 2,000 years, it's happened 10 times.
Yeah.
This will be the 10th heifer this year that they're going to sacrifice.
And they come out like mid-May through June.
I'll tell you what, Texas is not going to be able to brag anymore when the freaking Antichrist comes out. I'm pointing down to you guys. Like you tell me I'm responsible for Assange being in prison there, that I haven't gone and escorted him out yet. But I'll tell you what, you guys are letting those red heifers be created down there. There's something wrong. And I wonder if it isn't that picture of your governor there at the wall, doing whatever he's supposed to be doing. It's like
he's a weffer.
There's something.
Yeah. I don't even know how anybody would get a schematic drawing of.
Hold on. The other thing was that France came out, and Macron said that the United States are cowards, and that Germany is the European countries are cowards because they're not going to send troops to fight actual, troops against Russia. And I was like, why the hell would he say that? It did not take long for me to know. France has been in a proxy war with Russia for a while.
Yeah.
Through their neo-colonialism in Africa. They've had all these coups where these new regimes have come in and pushed the French out. And there's a new, mainly Wagner, but there's a new military force that has moved in and partnered with these countries that were French protectorates, but they were, French, colonies. They got all their uranium from there, oil, all these other things. And Russia is taking over or partnering and taking over with that. And I think they're bringing those African countries into the BRICS nations to get their gold and their other resources to help back the money.
Well, also,
sorry about
to a certain degree,
why France wants to go to nuclear war even with Russia.
Crazy. What do they have to lose?
To a certain degree, we do have to imagine that the BRICS nations seem like a reliable counter coalition to the EU and to the US.
I like that.
Yeah.
Because NATO is essentially just an EU plus US NGO.
Mm-hmm.
NATO's done. It's done.
They should have already been. They should have
been done
allowed
for a long time.
They should have allowed Russia to join it and then close down immediately. It would have been beautiful. It would have been, proof. Like, look, we did this right.
They should have just dissolved it when the wall came down. That would have made the most sense.
Yeah.
Dystopian memes. They're my fave.
That one's a beautiful one, right?
That is
I got to say this. I had a kind of a big paradigm shift recently, and I'll attribute to Scott Adams, the creator of Delbert.
Oh boy!
When he talked about the 6 levels of political awareness. And I did a posting in DIN in the political layer, I believe, but it kind of gets you a pause, a different way of seeing how things. It's really all manipulative. It's all how the gears behind the scenes work. It goes beyond and deeper than, the deep state and who is they and who are they and what is the deep state made of. And I encourage anybody out there listening to look that up.
Well, it's a really it's a really silly answer depending on who you ask, but it's also a very serious answer when you start looking at what they're actually doing. Like it's the weirdest part to me about the quote deep state is that the administrative agencies that comprise it are doing some stuff on our behalf that nobody's paying attention to, but they're doing it in the broad wide open. Like if you want to feel indignant about how people think about you in government, go read an open transcript in the EPA subdivision that is responsible for banning appliances that aren't sufficiently efficient.
Oh, there's numerous ones of those.
Oh, if you go in there and read those, they think you're a moron. They think everybody that's not in that room is a moron.
That's why we eat the food we eat. That's why we have the troubles we have.
The food is fake. The money is fake.
And
the
we
news
might
is
as
fake,
well
the
be
media is fake. The internet is fake. Fake.
Cattle. It's like that's all they think we are, and until we stand up, that's all we are. Look at this one. This one is
yesterday, Scott, what's his name? O'Keefe, from OMG, O'Keefe Media, whatever. He just had somebody that he did one of those sting gotcha videos from somebody within the not State Department, I can't remember, or Homeland Security, talk about how many people in government just thinks they look down, kind of like the aristocrats looking down at the peasants.
It's worse,
which is weird considering how shitty the pay is and how easy it is to get a job there.
Someone on 4chan made, I don't even know what the comment was, but this was beautiful. That Anon, just be a good Christian and buy a Trump Bible.
$60 Trump. It is so fun. It's a good Bible. It's a great Bible. A lot of people, it's my favorite book. It's a lot of people's favorite book.
Speaking of the end times,
he follows it up like I like this. A lot of people like it. It's not weird.
Yeah,
that always cracks me up, man. How he does that.
Why is he selling a Bible? What the hell? Why the NFTs too?
Premillennial dispensationism
is he really selling Bibles? I haven't heard that.
Yeah, he's selling Bibles
with Lee Greenwood or something, maybe.
He's selling. What is it? There's something.
Have you seen this video?
You get free ones at the Motel 6 or whatever.
I want to ask you guys about this guy. I don't know his name.
Okay, that reminds me of the video.
It looks like an extra from one of the battle scenes in Lord of the Rings.
There's a Fox News story that people are starting to see demonic faces.
Really?
Yes.
That's the first thing that everybody says when they see this. And when you see him, it's like I just wondered, just like, is he used to being able to control like little old ladies to empty their pocketbooks? Is that what he does with this eye stare? And you really watch him do this. It's creepy.
Do you really not know who he is?
No, what's his name? I don't know.
Kenneth Copeland.
Kenneth Copeland from Copeland Ministries.
See, I don't know that. I mean, I'm from the days of.
I feel like we should take the image down because the image might have special powers.
True, it might be something here. I'll go.
Here's a link to that Fox News article.
So thank you, Greg. I was actually stuck on that for a while. I couldn't move past that picture.
I know. It's like.
Hey, was he the same guy that was in Time Cop? No, he's not. Okay.
Oh, I have another current event. If you want to do another switch.
Yep, I've got one we got to have.
Candace Owens. What in the world is so crazy stuff going on? Do you guys?
Yeah.
I got a theory on that one.
Okay, what is it?
The theory is when she started talking about the Prime Minister of France's wife is actually a male.
Yeah.
And she did that so that there would be lawsuits and that would be her exit clause because she didn't want to be there anymore. She wanted to do her own thing.
She probably make a lot more money on the
she actually
I think there's a line being drawn, and I can tell you, my mother was a theologian, doctorate, reverend. I was always raised that Israel was the bomb, man. It was the shit. God's chosen people, support Israel, stand with Israel, you know. And I have changed my mind
genocide right now
because I'm looking at just tons of dead kids. I don't want to go on X on Twitter. It's nothing but dead kids. It's so many dead babies.
It's horrible.
Well, they attacked the one refugee camp.
Yeah, and that's the
using
thing.
our weapons.
I watched an African like prime minister or something, and he's like, "You can't do this." It's like, I don't care if the head of Hamas runs into a hospital, you can't blow up the hospital. I don't care if the head of Hamas runs into an refugee camp, you can't bomb a refugee camp.
It goes to show the mindset, though, the people in power, right? Like, they'll fuck the banking system and the dollar to hurt one of their enemies.
The fact that I can look at this and say, oh, they've flipped the switch. You can't be like, oh, I'm so terrible. Look what happened to you. Look at what the Nazis did.
Yeah, well,
now,
and is
look at what you're doing.
That's the big issue. Why can they do it? Oh, because they had this happened to them in the past, and we don't want to, and these people attacked them, and then you end up though realizing that if you just open eyes and look on Twitter, you'll see enough examples of it where someone, head of state, high level official, is calling out these people in Gaza as not being human. They're calling them animals. We're going to cut all this from them. They'd be better off if they weren't there.
Oh yeah, I mean,
all of that stuff,
literally to exclude aid,
which it violates international law and all these. And you see that's
start.
Why they don't care. They'll
well, we talk about exposing stuff. I think this is being exposed. This is being shown. This to me is the biggest thing. That it's in your face. Look at what's happening. How did things happen in Germany, and how do people let it happen? This is like in your face, and even people who are ridiculous, AOC and the like far nut jobs are like, "Hey, that's bad."
Mm-hmm.
And then for anyone to say anything, well, no, we got to support. No,
our greatest ally.
Right. Can you imagine what would happen right now if a Julian Assange type leak showed us what was really going on there?
Oh,
I think absolutely nothing. I think that the line's
drawn. I think it would change a lot.
Okay.
It's a carrier. It's a carrier.
Netanyahu is not a religious nut, but he has put his finance minister and his minister of defense security. They are devout, not Jesuit Zionists. They believe in subjugation of Christians, of everyone. They're Israel Uberalis, and he put them into power. They're the ones that are doing this. They're the ones that are arresting protesters, their own people that are like, hey, we're against what you're doing. They're arresting them. Those people are the ones in control. That's their deep state.
I mean, they've had the prototype system.
But everyone knows it. They put out, and there has been Assange type leaks, Greg, that have had their plans for starvation, everything that they're doing.
Oh, I know.
It's written out, and nobody cares. No one reports on it. No, even so, it's out there, and no one is doing anything about it. Even though,
right? But if it showed up on WikiLeaks, is what I'm saying. Like if Assange weren't in prison, it'd be different.
Anything that would lend, even if it's slow, Sean. I mean, it's like that type of stuff builds up over time. I could talk to friends in the 90s, and they would think I'm nuts for telling them that the NSA or some other government agency can access everything that we send or talk to each other, and they're like, you're full of it. That's ridiculous. See, now it's obvious. Everybody knows it, right? It took a long time, but this stuff going on, people are going to realize, okay, why are we sending all this money over there to kill kids, right? In fact, it is beautiful. Tons of the guys on are showing memes that I've seen where it's an army recruiter texts them,
and that's
right.
This
so
is
this young guy says, "I don't want to die for Israel."
Why.
So,
this is to me exactly why she got fired. She got fired for being that person, for being the voice that was refusing to say, "I'm okay with the murder of kids." Like it made people pay. Her defenestration made people pay attention to the issue, and I think she did it on purpose for that very reason.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird to me that like when Trump was in office, that news people started to use the word deep state like a regular thing, and the crazy thing about the recent stuff is that like Zionists were not talked about, because there's in the comments over here, you got not all Jews are bad. There are Jews. Yeah, but Zionists aren't Jews or Jewish people. They're the bad people. They're they're not all Islamists are crazy bad.
Well,
people.
They downgraded the recording quality in that Raw news. Yeah.
So, but now there's actual pro-Zionist articles, and it's used in it that Jews and Zionists are the same thing. And I think the language is always super important. And I think that's a big part of moving that into the mainstream and those ideologies mainstream.
There was a hole in the narrative control on the fact that you could call out a Zionist because Zionism is so obviously doing bad things right now, right? Yeah. So they want to now associate that. Oh, well, no, if you say that, it's still this, and
it goes back to kind of what I was alluding to earlier. It's all one. The central banks, the military intelligence, the military industrial complex, they're controlling everything. And they want
they're trying to anyway.
And they'll use anything to sell it. Religion or no religion, or we're the good guys against the bad. They'll sell it however they want to sell it to make more money, to grab more power.
Now, see, I would
millions of dollars billions of dollars in propaganda could not convince everyone in the world because evidence is sitting in this conversation.
But I'll tell you, I don't believe it's just money. I think money is a huge part of it because it drives further efforts in the future. I think it's blood. I really do. I don't think it's just
power.
I think it goes beyond that.
I think it's powerful. I don't think
power. Yeah.
I don't think that they might as well be. I don't believe that they're lizard people, but I think they might as well be lizard people because I couldn't imagine.
I imagine it's about hegemony.
Right. The evil. Right. The evil.
Yeah, they're not human, man. The humanity is gone.
Yeah,
you can't look at that stuff or do that stuff.
How about
throughout history? The only way, a big part of war, is devaluing the other side to where they're not quite human. That's how people. That's what people let everyone have.
Oh, we haven't talked about this.
Savages.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the
this.
Russian.
Yeah,
and if you look at these, some people are saying no, that's just it's just poor quality ammo they're using, and there are several videos if you look slow-mo of them of the what they took from inside, and some of them are really bad, so don't watch them unless you're ready. But there's one where one of these guys goes into a small room and he's shooting, and it looks like I can't remember the dude's name who directed all the martial arts movies in the late 90s, but guns, sparks everywhere, right? It just doesn't look real, and some of it looks superimposed. But anyway, who do you think it was? Who was it? Who did this?
I haven't seen that. That doesn't look real.
It's all one. Money, power, greed, military, central banks. It's all one.
Did Ukraine do this? Did the CIA do this? Did ISIS do this?
This was not 100% ISIS. That's what I will say.
Right. Yeah.
There were other parties involved to help them out, help them help them get the weapons, to recruit these individuals. What was there? Total of 6, right? And 2 died inside the place, and 4 escaped in a white Renault, and then they found the white Renault and found them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
Anyone else want to take a gander or comment on that?
I don't think it was ISIS at all, but I don't.
If I see ball caps, I don't think ISIS. But that muzzle flash was like 5 feet from the muzzle.
Yeah.
It didn't come out of the gun. It was literally way in front. I don't think the CIA could be that stupid even to do that.
Maybe.
I don't know. If the war escalates in Ukraine, what happens? More weapons are produced, more money is made, more power is assumed, more power is in control.
If you're okay, we're going to leave off on a creepy note. this is not a meme. It's just a tweet that I stored, but there was a fatal incident where a pedestrian was struck by a train, right? This is in Kern County in California. This is literally, and I saw the video, a video of this dude who was holding a leg severed from this accident and was eating it.
What?
So what the hell is going on in the world? It's like, and that's California, okay, but anyway, so that'll be.
Oh, Greg can't get back in.
Oh shoot, there he is. He has something to.
Hey.
Maybe, what do you think about the anyway? Horrible stuff. Anyway, okay, let's exit, right? So, watch us again next week. What is next week? It is blockchain app store to challenge app store monopolies, right? I think important to that for the crypto world and blockchain projects. So very important.
Good one.
Could be pretty cool. Thanks all of you for joining. What's going on? We'll just go clockwise. So Lisa, what's happening this week?
So later today, I'm going down to secure our location for the happy hour meetup that will happen Friday the 19th before our Team Mighty event on April 20th. So everybody's welcome to join us. That Friday night is a free open to the public event. We'll be talking about freedom, crypto, holding big government back, building parallel systems, all the good things. And so hopefully everybody can come out to join us there and then see Sean and I every Tuesday. And I'm on most weekdays at 4 p.m. Central.
Sean, what's up?
What's up? Check out the True Tuesday. Like I said, I thought it was really interesting stuff that I did research on. I went into a little bit more in depth. I was going to say, check me out on. I always talk about the show whenever I'm talking about stuff to check out. I think we're doing a Crypto Rednecks this week. We did one last week. I'm going to review a meme coin that I don't want anyone to watch, so don't watch that one.
All right, we need to know now. There's censorship at foot. I need to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know this.
Now, an amusement park that we need to get inside.
They're like, hey, can you talk about this? Check this out. Oh my god, it's a meme coin. That's
okay. That's cool.
Community is
I hear they're all the rage.
They are the rage. This is very American Pie.
Okay,
beautiful.
Right. Very good. Very good. I am where I am. What's up this week?
Well, let's see. Lots going on. I actually started building raised garden beds in our backyard.
Very cool.
I might have questions.
So I can plant tomatoes and I'm going to plant potatoes and onion. Everyone needs to prep. Everyone needs to prep. Get 30, 60, 90
Exactly.
days.
We need a decentralized naming version of Victory Garden. Do you remember that? Like wars, right?
Yeah.
And plant some eggs in there from Jakari.
Yes, there you go.
Jacaria, the eggs.
That's awesome.
That's kind of what I'm doing, family kind of thing.
Cool.
But because the only place where I can get sun, because we have a lot of trees, is there. So I got to do raised to keep the dogs out. And to be honest with you, I have not come back to the website for the Umbrella Promise, but that is coming. And let's see what else. The last thing I'd like to say is please go visit din.social. And I encourage everyone to go to the political layer and look at a recent posting I did there about the levels of political awareness. You can kind of read it and find out where you're at. And it's okay if where you're at, everyone has their own journey in political awareness and understanding of how the world works and who's in control and who they are. And
all right.
So go to din.social.
We have less than a minute, so you have to end quick, Greg.
Okay, I'm going to start by saying one thing and one thing only. Julian Assange is probably in a really good place now because the ruling came out. The one key thing to remember is they made it contingent for his extradition. that the U.S. promises he gets a First Amendment defense.
Nice.
So
that's
so.
We'll
I'm going to bet that I'm going to bet that they settle with him because of that. That wouldn't be in there if that was, because they won't do that. That's not in the Espionage Act. So we had a win, and I think we should celebrate it. And also,
that's good to hear.
Trump's doing the same thing under the First Amendment today.
Yeah, that's
all
me.
right.
That's my.
We have
15
seconds.
Rah,
I'm just going to say bye. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next week. All right.
Jacaria.
Yeah.